Hi everyone! Today we're going to speak about one important feature Vue 3 will bring, which is a composition API. But before we start speaking about it, I want to give you an important warning. When we first introduced this new API, we made a huge mistake. We were speaking about deprecating some options from the old API, and people understood it slightly differently than we want. You can see some quotes from Reddit saying like, do I need to write all my components to the new syntax? And I want to say no, please don't be like this. The new composition API is purely additive. You won't need to write all your good components written with options API to this new syntax. And after this warning, now I'm safe and I can introduce myself. My name is Natalia and I'm Vue.js core team member. I care mostly about Vue documentation. I work as a staff front-end engineer at GitLab and I'm also a Google developer expert in web technologies. So, why do we need this new API? Is there anything we were really lacking in the Vue version 2? Let's take a look at this small application. Please meet Catsplorer, an app to search and sort cat breeds. As you can see, we have two features here. First is searching, second is sorting with different parameters. In the application code, this will look like this. So this code belongs to search. We have some part of the reactive state responsible for searching, and we have a method to run this search. And of course, we have something for sorting. Again, we have some reactive data, and we have some computed properties to calculate these sorted results. If we take a look at the component code, we will see how these two features are divided in it. So here is a code that belongs to search, and here is a code for sorting. And as you can see, the logic is pretty much fragmented here. Imagine I'm a developer who needs to fix the search, and I need to follow this logic, and I will be jumping from data to method and vice versa. So, do we have a way to compose these reusable features and abstract them somehow? So the first options in the current API are mixins. Mixin is an object that can contain any set of component properties like data, methods, computed, lifecycle hooks. And when mixin is included into the component, these properties are mixed in with component properties. Sometimes component can override mixin properties if there is a name collision. Sometimes they are merged together, like in the case of lifecycle hooks. But basically, you need to understand this just mixing in properties from mixin to the component. So here is a mixin for the search, and here is a sorting mixin that includes only properties we need for sorting. And if we take a look at this is way less fragmented, right? And we just include these mixins to the component at the bottom. But there are some problems about mixins. First of all, they're not really reusable. If you did pay attention to the search mixin, you saw this access call. So we are not able to customize our search. We will always use the same endpoint because this is defined in the mixin. We cannot pass even the endpoint there. Not speaking about replacing Axios with some kind of GraphQL calls. Conflict prone. As I mentioned, mixin properties could be overridden by component ones. In this case, we can't be sure that everything we exposed from the mixin safely landed in the component. And unclear source. If you ever used mixins, you know how hard it's to track which method comes from which mixin, especially if you have multiple ones in the component. We have another option, which is scope slots. I won't go into deep details, but basically in Vue, component can have slots and we can place anything in this slot, like text, HTML, other components, and all this content will belong to parent scope. When we speak about scoped slots, we mean that child component, in this case it's generic search, can expose a part of its scope, like data, methods, whatever we want, to the content in the slot. So you can think about component with a scoped slot like a component that contains some logic, not a template in this case, like a wrapper that performs some operations and exposes data and methods to its content. Looks much better because, as you can see, we can pass run read search there, so we are not setting it up to static access call, but this is not flexible. First of all, data and methods that are exposed to the scope slot are exposed only to the scope slot. We cannot reuse any kind of exposed data in other places in the template or in the options API or whatever else outside of the slot. And this is less performant because in this case generic search is still a view component. This is a view instance and you need to mount this view instance to make it work. So do we have any other options? In Vue 3, yes. This is a new composition API and I want to show you how does it work and how we can abstract these two features into the composition API. That's why we're switching to live demo. Wish me some luck. So here is a code for the search and sorting. And let's start with abstracting search to its own composable. Let's go to composables folder and create a new file named search.js. And we want to export a function from here. Let's name it use search. And let's take a look, what do we have for search? First of all, we have these reactive properties, which are query and results. And we want to abstract them completely from this component. So let's create our first reactive property called search query. And this will be a ref of an empty string. Empty string is an initial value of this search query here. And what ref does under the hood? In fact, we are creating a search query which will be equal to an object with value of an empty string. And this object is reactive thanks to ref. So any changes to search query value will be reactive. We need also to create a search results query, which is a ref of an empty array. And of course, we need some method. Let's call it run read search. And this, I'm sorry, my typing is really bad today. And this is a function. And what do we want to do here? So we want to pass something to run because we don't want to make this access call static. We want to abstract the logic. So this code will accept some function. Let's say get results. And it will call get results. And we want to have our query as a parameter here. But remember, this is a ref. So when we are referring to the ref inside of the composition function, we need to remember about value. And then we have some response and we want to set search results value to this response. What else do we have for search? We abstracted run read search. Oh, we have mounted. So we want to run read search in mounted hook. This can be also abstracted here. And we want to run breed search. That's basically it. Now we need to return whatever we want to use in the component from the composition function. So we are returning search query and search results in this case, and of course we need to return run breed search. Now we can start using this in the component. First, obviously, we need to import our use search from the composables. And now we're introducing a new option in the component, which is setup. In terms of lifecycle hooks, setup will be involved before created hook, and we can access the things returned from the setup in both templates and options API, so here, but we can't refer to data properties or computed in the setup, because when setup is running, we don't have data or computed. So let's use our use search method here. I want to have search query, search results, and run breed search here. And I need to pass a method here, like a callback. So this callback will accept a query parameter. We're passing it here from search query value. And we need to recalculate endpoint. We cannot refer to this computed because setup is running before computed exists. So I will simply calculate it based on query. And then I want to run my Axios call. Here I will simply use an endpoint I've just defined. Here we should use our past query from search query value. And in a response, I just want to filter data, because saving logic will go to the composable. Now I can get rid of breed search, breed endpoint, and the whole methods and mounted section. And I need to fix my template slightly. So this should be fine. And we also have these breed search results. This will be replaced with the search results. Important moment. You can see I'm not using search results value here, as well as I'm not using search query value here. Because when you use anything returned from the setup in the template or options API, ref will be automatically unwrapped for you. You don't need to care about value in the template. So let's take a look at our application. And this all happened because I simply forgot to return everything from the setup. And trust me, I do this every single time. And I believe this is one of the cons of the new API, because you need to explicitly return everything from the setup option. Here we go. And now, as you can see, we have our cats. Let's try to see if search works. It does. We didn't break sorting? No, we didn't. So great, search is abstracted. Now let's try to work on sorting. I will create one more file. In fact, you can store all your composables in one file, but I just want to make it more visible. And I want to export function use sorting here. So what do we need for sorting? Let's try to take a look. First of all, we have options, and I don't want to hard code them to sorting. I just want to pass them there. We have a reactive property for selected option, and this makes sense to be abstracted because this is an internal logic of sorting. And we have results. Obviously, results should be in sorting as well. But as you can see, we are sorting some items, and I don't want these items to be hard-coded again. I just want to pass them to sorting. So we want to have our options and items. And we need to create selected option index, which is a reactive property with a default value of 0. And we need our sorted results. As you can see, sorted results are computed properties, which means they will be recalculated if their reactive dependency change. We can use computed in the composition API as well. We just need to import them from the view. And in this case, computed will accept a callback. I will copy paste the logic from here and fix it slightly. We don't have result sorting, we just have options. We have our selected option index value. Don't forget, this is a ref. And here we will use our items. And here is a trick. I know I will pass a computed property as items here, and computed is a ref internally. So here I will need to use items value. And I need to return everything I want from the sorting. So selected option index and sorted result. Oh god. Sorted results. Now let's go back and try to change our component as well. First of all, I want to abstract options to a small constant. Let's call it sorting options. And I need to return these options from the setup as well, because I will use them in the template. Now let's import our use sorting from our composables. And let's create more constants here. So we will have selected option index and sorted results from use search. And I will just move a constant declaration a bit higher because I will need it in my use sorting. So first parameter is sorting options, and second, as I already mentioned, is computed, because I need to track any changes in my search results, and when they change, I want to recalculate this computed. In this case, I will return search results value. Remember, search results is a ref itself. And I want to return selected option index as well as sorted results from my setup option. I can remove data now as well as computed. And I need to change my template as well. So here I will have sorting. Oh god. Sorry, I'm really bad when I'm typing something when do live coding. And here we will have selected option index. So let's take a look at the application again. Oh, of course, ODBY is not defined because I forgot to move this part of the logic from the template to the composable. And right now we fixed it. Sorting works. Search works. Great. Just a few mistakes during the live coding and we are here. So basically, we just learned we can use composition API independently, either in the whole component or in the combination with the all good options API as well. If you want to learn a bit more about the composition API, please follow this link or just Google for composition API RFC. There is the most full source of information about the composition API so far. And I also created this small repository you can play with. Please target Vue 3 branches. There is a branch with a starting code and with a finished code as well. And thank you.
Hey, Natalia. Thanks for joining us and for this really clear talk. First comment, I actually got a message while you were speaking from a colleague of mine. Hey, Dean, how you doing? That he thought you had such a relaxed voice and that really helped him follow along. So he was in the moment with you. So that's something given. So I don't know if you can thank you for it, but yeah, he liked it. So did I, by the way. I want to remind everyone that if I don't have time to answer your question or ask a question to Natalia will go to a Zoom room where you can continue the discussion about the composition API or anything else future related with Natalia. And the link is below the player on the website in the timeline. You can just click on her Zoom room. But let's go to the first question, and it's an easy one. It's from Amir Ikubal. By the way, which font are you using? It looks so nice to me.
It's Dankmana font, used together with Night Owl theme for VS Code.
Ah, nice. Dankmana, that's from the guy from Formidable, right? It's a free font. Yeah, nice.
No, this is not. Unfortunately, it's not.
Oh, well, maybe you have to sometimes pay money to use nice stuff. That's weird. Next question is from Jan. When do you recommend not to use composition?
Now, as a part of the team that developed composition API, it's very tempting to say, just use it everywhere. But in fact, if you, first of all, do not have features to abstract and reuse, and second, if you have a team that already get used to the option API, there is no reason to jump immediately and rewrite everything to composition API. You can evaluate features that need to be reused, and then you can iteratively add them with a composition API.
So there's no like a law when to do it. You can always, but it depends on the project basically. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Next question is from Ibrahim Bekliev. Which problems does a new composition API solve exactly? If I got it right, it helps to combine the logic of one thing and place it in one place, like what the React team did when they introduced the React hooks, and give opportunity to create custom hooks like use search, use sort, etc.
Yes, you basically get it right. Unfortunately, in Vue 2, we lacked a tool to reuse logic, not components. As I mentioned, we could have mixins or scope slot, but still it was very synthetic thing. And also composition API is very helpful in the case of writing Vue plugins for Vue 3. Because currently, if you're author of the library, you would need to work with a Vue instance and extend the Vue prototype. With composition API, it's much easier to do so because you can just simply export functions you created in the plugin and use provide inject to put them to Vue instance. So basically, it's feature reuse and plugin development.
Okay. Well, I hope that gives Ibrahim the complete answer he's looking for. Else, he can find you in the Zoom room. Next question is from O. Beresford. Is there a guess on when the Vue 3 will be out of beta status? I use Vue 2 and I've been pulling out extra / non-Vue code via traditional means via SRP, for SRP.
As you probably understand, I have no allowance to say a certain date, even though we have it in mind. But release candidate is coming very soon, like really very soon. You will be surprised how soon it is.
So can I like set an alarm now Will it make the weekend? Give us a glimpse, Natalia.
No way. No way.
Oh, damn it. Okay, well, good that you're tough on us. Next question is from Poltermouth30. What advantages does the composition What advantages does the composition API offer against React hooks?
Honestly, it's a bit complex to answer because the question is like, what advantages Vue offers over React? Basically, because they solve similar tasks but different frameworks. So basically, if you work with React, for simplicity, you can consider composition API being kind of hooks for Vue. But the only thing is, like someone mentioned, custom hooks. Like all composition APIs are custom. We don't have built-in composition APIs.
Yeah, okay. So it's apples and oranges.
Kind of.
Then closer to each other even. Okay. Another question from Endu Green Age. How do you decide which arguments for your custom composition functions are supposed to be refs and which should be plain values?
Basically, if you need reactive value, this should be always ref. You probably noticed that I'm passing options. That is static because I didn't plan to change these options in my application. This is just a constant. And this shouldn't be a ref or reactive. If you plan to react on the change of this parameter, this should be always a ref or computed like I did, passing a parameter to the sorting option. If we speak about comparison with Vue 2, you can think that non-reactive values, if you pass them as non-reactive, is something like $ options. If you want something reactive, like from data or computed, they should always be ref or computed.
Okay. I think that's all the time we have for the live Q&A, but I'll just mention once again, if you want to know more about the composition API, please go to the Zoom room. It's in the link. The link is in the timetable below us in the player. There's a timeline below. So there's a new question coming in right now, and we're not going to answer it. So Sui will have to go to the Zoom room, unfortunately, and we're going to go to the next speaker. Natalia, thanks a lot for joining us all the way from Ukraine, here in Amsterdam, kinda.
Thank you.
And thanks a lot for being here.